Hello, welcome to September 7th, 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video exercise that I do every morning at 5:30 a.m. here in Japan to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and to review any interesting moments where I was either held to account for my values uh, insofar as failing to live up to them or maybe doing better than I thought. And I use that opportunity then to reflect on how I can improve in the future, keep notes, and then think about tuning myself. But before I start any of that, I'd like to say hello to the new subscribers to the channel. There are a lot of you now, and it's interesting how the new subscribers come in waves. And welcome. I'm Kurt. I'm a 61-year-old guy living in Japan with my 61-year-old Japanese wife. I'm American, by the way. And I'm about 8.5 months into retirement and finding my way. I do another daily video called Retiring in Japan, which is an edited video that uploads just about the same time this video uploads. The Retiring in Japan video usually uploads just ahead of this, so they come out together at the same time. This video is not about Japan. This is my own personal vlog, my own personal journal, my own account of life. So you're welcome to watch. Look over my shoulder as I write in my dear diary. Leave your comments and your criticisms, whatever you like, and I will read them at the end, but not until then. Okay, so what I typically do, further disclaimer, I do talk about death in every video, so just be warned if that's a sensitive subject for you. And thank you if you're if you're a member on YouTube or a member of my Patreon. I appreciate you greatly. Let's get started. I'm a little disjointed today. Yesterday was a giddy day, in the best sense. Yet that was tempered a bit by some, reminders of mortality. A friend of mine died, and that's on my mind as well. We knew it was coming, so it wasn't a surprise. Yet it was a surprise. Even when you know it's coming, it's a surprise. But I find that as I get older, I take the death of people in my life with more than ever before. I wonder if I'll get to be one of those old people that who watches people around them fading off, dying. And I told you we're talking about death with more sobriety and just acceptance than the young. I think I'm already becoming that. Well, I've always been that way. I've always been very. Excuse me, I got something in my eye. When I was young, I used to think there was something wrong with me because death of people in my life tends to kind of hit like a punch, bam, knocking me off my feet for a second. But then I quickly recover. I gain my footing again, and I move on without much. I rarely think about the people once they're gone. I think about the people who have died in my life. Like I think about, I don't want to say anything, because anything that I say, if I try to make that similar to anything, it's going to sound callous. I feel callous. I feel, well, I did, particularly when I was young. I mean, people would die and I would kind of like just shake it off and move on. And it's become more so like that. I learned of my friend's death, and I just kind of moved on. Can't help but be who you are, right? I mean, that just seems to be, part of the reason, maybe it's because I work so hard every day to prepare myself for death, that I take it more in stride when others die. So what is it that shakes us up so much? I mean, we can shout out some obvious stuff that we love them and we're getting to miss them, and I don't know. I want to philosophize, and use this moment. That's what this video is about. That's what this period of time in my day is about. Is to look at the events of the last 24 hours and try to understand them. So a friend of mine died in the last 24 hours. I was a little shocked by it, and then I moved on. Hardly gave it a second thought. Bob, if you've followed me long enough, you'll remember that. You might remember Bob, my neighbor in Huntington Beach. Remember, I lived in that, and before I moved to the desert, I lived in that lovely little Navy officers' families apartment unit from the 30s in Huntington Beach, and 2 doors down was Bob. He used to walk past. I used to do this video in the morning, every morning in Huntington Beach in my little room there. And literally while I was doing the video, there was a window and Bob would shuffle past and I would stop in the middle of my good life meditation. Evelyn, if she's been watching this, Evelyn's been watching this for a long time. Evelyn may remember Bob would shuffle past and he didn't know the camera was running and good morning, Bob. And we talked for a little bit and off he'd go. It didn't happen often, but he would punctuate my good life meditation. And Bob was all grizzled and stuff like that. And Bob and his wife were living out the horror show. The horror show is actually, I think I talked about the horror show yesterday. Wasn't it yesterday's principle? They were living out the horror. They were a living engagement of the horror show going down before my eyes. Like men and women, like a man and a woman drowning in the sea, unwilling and uninterested to take a life raft or a hand, willingly drowning in the sea. I mean, I would talk to Bob often, and he would explain to me his awful circumstance, and the awful circumstance of his wife, and I don't even want to begin to try to catalog them. It seems useless to do because I would try to talk to Bob and work my way through this stuff. Okay, I'll give you one thing. Okay, one thing that I tried with Bob and got nowhere. They were suffering money problems, as a lot of old people do. Yet Bob and his wife were the recipients of a quite robust and handsome inheritance in a bank account that he didn't know the password to. He couldn't remember the password to get into the bank account on the online stuff. It's like I was always astonished. He and his wife had all these dreams that they wanted to do. And I offered to Bob, I was a stranger, so to speak, as a neighbor, and I offered, Bob, I can help you with this. I know how to work with banks and get passwords, and this is not an insolvable problem, Bob. If you want, I can assist you with this. No, he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't let anybody help with anything, and he had a friend, and I won't say her name because Bob's dead. But and she couldn't help either. Nobody could help. So they were like I said, they were like a man and a woman drowning in the sea. And you'd throw them a life ring on a rope, and the life ring would land right here. And they were like, no, I'm going to ignore it. Right, Anyway, when I finally learned, and Bob, when I moved out, and I went off to the desert, if I found myself coming through the Orange County area, Bob eventually wound up. He and his wife ended up in separate convalescent homes. They really needed to be that there, which was good. That was a good change in their life, given the squalor that they were living in. And I would drop by and visit Bob and see him. I saw him maybe 4 times. I stopped by that convalescent home to see him. I just kind of pop in. He he liked fresh cut melon. So I would go to Trader Joe's because they have nice little packs of, and I'd get him cut. He liked watermelon in particular, and I'd get him the little package of watermelon. And I'd stop by the nurse's station as I came through, and they have a little spork. I'd get a spork and plastic spork and go over and visit with Bob and bring him his watermelon, and we'd catch up. And by then, I hashtag limits. I knew where my limits were. I wasn't going to help Bob. He didn't want any help. Nobody was going to help him. He had made it. He had wound up in the care of the state. He was in a state institution, being cared for, nurses looking after him. He was already sat there with his TV. He and his wife, their whole life was television. That's all they did was television. They sat together on their sofa in their squalid apartment, watching TV, going out three times. I don't know where they got the money because they were so tight, but they would go out 3 times a day and come home with the worst fast food. I mean, you might remember, if you see these videos, he would walk past my door in the morning, and he would go out and he'd come back with Marie calendars. Not that Marie calendars is bad, it's expensive, but he would have stuff in there like dessert for breakfast. And then he would come back, and in the afternoon he'd come back with Del Taco, and he'd have the Del Taco, whatever they are, the big glasses of them, like milkshake things. And he and his wife, they're diabetic, and they'd go by, and I'm just like, gosh, it's like almost like they were conspiring to go down, like he was trying to take them both out, and she was into it too. Anyway, I'm going on and on. When I finally got the message that Bob had died, fallen down in the convalescent home, fallen down and died. Remember, this is all about the fact that a friend of mine died in the last 24 hours. And I kind of just took it in my stride. I was like, wow, he's dead. Like, I knew he was dying, but he's dead. He's a friend of mine here in Japan. It's not Jim. Don't worry. If those of you who know me, it's not Molly. It's not anybody any of you would know. So I was like, wow. Okay, let's have lunch. I mean, and then when Bob died, I was like the same way. I'm just like that. I've become, remember, this is my video, this is my diary video, so I'm exploring who I am, right? That's how, and I've always been like that, but it's more so now. Not a lot, but I mean, I've had, in the past, when people die, I even people close in my life, I have to kind of put on this contrived face of, like, of grief. Even my father, when he died, it was like, that was the biggest one, when my dad died. But even that, I was like pretty much 48 hours later, and I was back and going, I'm like this guy in this project of life that, like on a quest, and nothing can deter me from the quest, the quest that causes me to stand here and look out and not want to be distracted by any. It's the same reason I don't have friends. Because all of these things are a distraction. I know this is going to sound weird and maybe a little vain and conceited, but there's this monologue that's been going on in my brain since I was a kid. It's very fascinating to listen to. It's not like the internal voice that we have when we're thinking. It's something else. It's a strain of like 3-dimensional textured thought that's running as a process in the back of my head all the time. And you don't think it, you don't listen to it. And I'm sure we all do this, but it's always there. I can hear it vaguely right now. It's like, and as soon as I'm done with this camera, if I shut the camera off and I stop attending to this or this or this or this, it comes back. And everything in my life that isn't solitude and peace dampens down this monologue that I hear in my head all the time. And that's the most interesting thing in my life. That's where I told you it sounded a little conceited, right? That the voice inside my head is the most interesting thing in my life. It really is. it's beyond fun. It's beyond interest. It's like having a warm campfire on a cool autumn night. And warm camp. That's whatever it is that's going on in my head back here. And my consciousness is here. My conscious thinking is here. What this other thing is back here. It's like that. And you can always just be sitting there warming your hands. And then, then friends show up and they want, what? Oh, you wanna talk to me? Oh. And you got to step aside from the flame a little bit. You can still feel the warmth there in the distance. Yeah, bowling, huh? Okay. Oh, movie night? Oh, there'll be popcorn. Oh, you can't make it. Oh, can't. Oh, okay. Well, too bad. Maybe another time. What? Oh, he died, huh? Ooh, he had a good life. Mm. Mm. That's what it's like, all the time. That's my life. Huh. See, this is really beneficial, thinking this stuff. I never come up with that before. I never was able to visualize it that way. So when I got the message last night that my friend died, it was a little shock. Slowly I turned back to the flame. Likewise with Bob. Well, let's get started, shall we? All that is preamble. Okay, last 24 hours, I have 2 notes here. Yesterday was a hell of a day. Putting aside the fact that my friend died. Okay, last 24 hours, my 2 notes here are, and these 2 notes are taken or recorded, kind of think of them as separate from the friend dying. The friend dying was something that happened in a personal sense. I mean, Yumiko knows him too. My daughter even knows him. But it still feels more of a personal sense. These 2 things are separate. Soft and deep second childhood was the first note, and the second note was cool and controlled. Yesterday was Yoko's birthday, my sister-in-law's birthday, and we treated her to basically an adventure. We took Yoko out into the mountains to a community that my wife had found, and an old Kominka-style house that was converted into a cafe. That was beautiful. When we got there, we were the only people there. We got the pole position, best seat in the house, at the table, at the master bedroom, so to speak, the master Hachijo 8-mat room, with just at the right time, with all the screens opened up and the mountain breeze coming through, with this cool air of early autumn coming in. We had a great meal, and turns out that the wife, the woman that was serving us, her waitress, was the wife of an American who knows another American, is a neighbor of another American I know in the area, and a friend of another American I know. She's like, her English is perfect. And so I was like, you know this person? I said, I just threw out the name. I was talking to her, and I didn't know her husband. She gave her husband's name. I didn't know him, but I just thought, maybe she knows my other friend. And I said, do you know? And I gave my other friend's name. And she says, yeah, he's our neighbor. He lives down the street. We rent a plot of land together to farm together. Small world. So we had that connection. And then we got out. We drove higher into the mountains and had an adventure. And then we put on our swimsuits and went for a swim in the ocean, in the river. Then we came down and we found a cafe, a dog cafe up in the mountains, and we had coffee and we had cake. And then we just had the best day. It was like a second childhood. I wrote in my journal this morning, it was like kids being released at the mall with a $20 bill in the 80s. You know, when your mom or dad would drop you off and you're lucky you got a 20. Wow, 20, a lot of money back then. And $20 and go to the arcade, go get some ice cream, whatever. But it was like that in an adult sense. It was a hell of a lot of fun. And the other note was this cool and in control. Through the whole thing, I felt like it wasn't, sometimes when you have a day like that, it feels like it's an exceptional day. Like, it's just like this, all the forces of nature have combined to create this exceptional moment that can't last. These days don't feel like that. They feel great, but they don't feel exceptional anymore. They feel like it's a Saturday, but it could have been a Tuesday. This last week has been practically every day like that. This is me floating. This is me coming through the other side of working my way into the retired life and finding my way into retirement and the peace that comes and beginning to float with that peace before the fall begins, right? Because it won't be long before something in this body, this moral coil, is going to begin to give out, and pain and decrepitude will arrive to rain on my parade. So I might as well enjoy the parade while I can. All the more reason to retire as soon as, absolutely as soon as possible. I used to hear that mantra over and over again from other people before I retired, saying whatever who had made it here, they would look back and say, they would say, once they learned I was retiring, they would be less conspiratorial. They would say, Kurt, it's great. Get here as soon as you can. Don't wait. And now I see why, because there's this halcyon days, this season of good health, when the health remains, the sense of vitality is still there, and we have our freedom before the health and the freedom and health begins to decline away, which is coming probably within 5 years for me. If I'm lucky, I've got 5 more years, if I'm lucky, of this, and I'm going to squeeze every bit of vitality out of it. That's enough of the last 24 hours. Let's go over my creed. My creed consists of 8 objectives and 35 principles. The 8 objectives, which I'm striving to achieve each and every day, are, number 1, to be always ready to die, to have my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in good, solid order. And yesterday, I'll make a note about that. My mother was in heavy duty abuse mode yesterday. I mean, she sends me a lot of mean emails, and and I read all of them because I want to be. I'm looking out. I force myself to read them because it's my responsibility to keep an eye on her mental state, her physical well-being. Because when she finally needs my help, I'll be there for her. And the way I do that is I keep track of her. I try to keep track of her correspondence. She was especially mean yesterday. So, which I'm saying that by virtue of the fact of being ready for death means having affairs, relationships, and life's work in good shape. How my affairs are certainly in order. My life's work is certainly in good shape. I've completed my life's work. My relationships, they're all sound. My wife, my mother, this is the best I can do, right? I mean, I know by long experience I'm not going to fix that relationship. The best I can do is keep my distance from the Feast of Offal, which is going on all around her, so she doesn't poison me with that, and then be ready to step in. And I was keeping, in the midst of all of that fun they were having yesterday, I was getting email after email. I mean, not that many. Maybe I got 2 or 3 yesterday, which felt like a lot. I mean, it feels like a lot when your mom writes to tell you how horrible you are. Email from her, and I would read them. We would be having fun. We'd be having some cake, and I got a letter from Mom. Oh wow, I'm the spawn of Satan. Well, there you go. So that's me fulfilling number two, which is the good relationships, maintaining my relationships. There's nothing I can do to fix my relationship with my mom. The best I can do is to maintain it so that I can fulfill my filial duty when the time comes. Second objective is to make good and effective use of my time. Spend as much time at the fire as possible. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, namely the principles and objectives in my book. 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions so that I respond well throughout the day. Man, I've been working on that one a lot, and it's getting so, what's funny? It's not that I've been very skilled at exercising good emotional reactions lately. It's simply that, no, that's not true. I was going to say that life is not that challenging. Life is challenging. I'm getting good at it. Yeah. Pat myself on the back. I am getting good at it. But it feels like, in a way, it's because the weight of life has lessened. So yeah, there is something to that, right? When you're under the strain and the stress of of job and family, it's easier to feel a little bit out of sorts and out of control. So it's not all me. It's also circumstance. I'm going to take a few paths back. Number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my. Wait, did I get it right? Number 4 is to perform. Yeah, number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my creed. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. Number 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number 8 is to maintain my balance, which comes as a consequence of fulfilling the first 7. All right, now I'm going to read one principle from the book. Today I'm going to read that which must be borne. This is borne with an E at the end, B-O-R-N-E, that which must be carried. And this principle comes right after the horror show, which in turn follows the principle of life will not go well. So you imagine life will not go well, bad things, life is hard. The horror show, sometimes it's horrifying. 3, that which must be borne, sometimes we just have to carry this stuff. Here we go. That which must be borne. Sub-principle, hand on the tiller. I love throwing in these nautical analogies. It's funny, the book that I wrote in the desert is filled with nautical themes. Hand on the tiller. Imagine sailing through the ocean of life, striving to keep the vessel on course despite the storms of life. That which must be borne. Life presents us with various burdens of many sorts, tasks, duties, responsibilities, as well as circumstances both apprehended and unexpected, which we must shoulder, lift, and carry despite our will, want, attitude, health, or even our desire. I kind of blew that. Sometimes I forget that I write such long sentences, and I put a period where I should. Let me try that again. That which must be borne. Life presents us with various burdens of many sorts, tasks, duties, responsibilities, as well as circumstances both apprehended and unexpected, which we must shoulder, lift, and carry despite our will, want, attitude, health, or even our desire. Must do them whether we want to or not. But they both come from things that we can both see coming and things that we don't. These are the things which we simply must do to fulfill our living mandate. Sure, the biological mandate. Sure, some choose to not carry such burdens, though they do so not without consequence. So if you choose not to carry these burdens, there's a price. Therefore, and I believe it's the more adult thing to do, to try to carry them. Therefore, as long as this is what we must be and do and how we must live, there's a sentence, then why not press forward with a smile and eyes lifted towards the sun and the stars and the light, which is the better part of our lives. Let us press on despite the weight, move forward in spite of our fatigue, and live on while mindful and feeling and suffering our weak bodies, frail minds, and inevitable consequent death. So why not carry on with it? Do the things that we need to do, shoulder the burden in spite of the fact that in the end all might appear to be for naught in terms of our own personal perspective. We'll be dead after all. But it's certainly not for naught if we think about the living consequence and reverberations of whatever valiant and virtuous efforts we make in the course of our life. I kind of got off. Come back. And sometimes I put the nautical bits as a separate paragraph, and it is. This one's I couldn't resist. I think I remember writing this and then thinking, there's a nautical analogy. And I threw it in. Steady on course, declares the master from the deck. Hold the rudder tight against the wind and the against current, and your fear and your doubt and upset and sense of drift and loss and ambush, even by the forces of seeming nature, capital N. And the draw, I'm surprised I put that in there. That's interesting, Kurt, that you went so far as to give nature a capital N. That's not like me, but I remember doing that. I remember holding over the word and thinking, shall I imbue nature with agency in this case? I did pull it back by putting the word seeming in front of it. Seeming nature. So it was deliberate seeming, capital N nature. And the draw of the seeming fates, capital F, starboard, seeming fates towards the, never mind starboard, and the seeming fates towards the maelstrom, I see where this is going, towards the maelstrom at port side of the, and the Siren Rock starboard, port side starboard, so we're sailing this way, storm over here, the rocks were the sirens, think Odysseus, think, think, the Odyssey, over here to the left. And the draw of the seeming fates towards the maelstrom at port side and the Siren Rock starboard. Quick, declare the crew, lash the master to the mast and unstop his ears before we ourselves shut up our own hearing with wax and throw all our weight to hold the ship straight on course. Thus we learn the secrets of the song of the demon sea hags, while keeping our vision and distraction and direction intact against their sway. Will we soon enough go down and drown within the sea? Of course we will, but not before we first sail like men. Totally borrowing from Odysseus, from the Odyssey, from the moment when the captain decides he's going to listen to the siren call of the sea hags, plugs his ears with, the sailors plug their ears with wax and lash Odysseus to the mast as the sailors keep the course through the maelstrom, through the storm, away from the rocks, while Odysseus listens to the song. That is how I want to endeavor to live my life. I remember being like 17 years old, reading the Odyssey, reading that passage of Odysseus and the crew passing by the siren rocks, and thinking to myself, this is a weighty vision, and one that will recur many times at the campfire of my mind. And there it is in my book now. Okay, enough of that. Let's go on with the next 24 hours. Well, the next 24 hours, I have no fears. It's Sunday, it's fun day. I'm going to have a fun day with my wife and my sister-in-law. We're going to go out antiquing in just a bit. Let's take a look at the temperature. It's 22 degrees. It's dropped considerably. It was 25 all last week and 85% humidity. So it was 85% humidity all last week and 25 degrees. 22 is a lot better. Let's read comments. Hello, Julie. Good morning. Good afternoon to you. It's a beautiful day where you are. Wonderful. Julie says this time of year is when we get the warm and sunny weather. You and I are on the flip side. Tim says, good morning. Weather check for the UK at 9:35 p.m. 17.3 C and 57 degrees. 17.3 and 57%, that is. Humidity, dry and windy day. So maybe a run in store for you today, right, Tim? First, Barry Brink. Hello. Welcome. I think this is the first time I've seen your name. Welcome. Oh, well, you say hello again, Kurt. Hello again. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize your name. Hello again, Kurt. Question. Any advice on getting a green card? We've been trying for 3 years and nothing. We have a Japanese lawyer in Tokyo working on any ideas. Well, let's see. When you use the term green card, I think of getting a green card in the United States, but it sounds like you're trying to get a residence card in Japan. Can you clarify for me which you're referring to? I'm not sure. I can speak to both if I know which one we're talking about. Evelyn, hey, Evelyn says she remembers Bob. Yeah, Bob died. I knew you would remember him. Hello, Evelyn. How's Turkey? I know I said yesterday that you were in Italy, but afterwards I was thinking, no, wait, no, Evelyn's in Turkey now, spelt with an I. Julie says, to me it feels like each relationship is almost in different dimension because all the shared experiences are totally unique. When that person dies, you are barred from that universe forever. That's an interesting way of looking at it, and I agree. Julie says, hi Evelyn, hope you're having a good time. Julie, that's nice. Neil, hello Neil, happy Father's Day, Kurt. Is it Father's Day? Is it Father's Day? I don't know. Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Tim says, shortly after I retired, I was informed 2 former work colleagues had passed away, both younger than me. For some reason, it brought it home more than being younger, which highlighted to me the fragility of life. Tim. Said, yes, indeed. The person that reminded me of my first day of work at my current job to not retire or I would die, has themselves contracted a very dangerous disease. And their words reverberate. They're still around, but their words are reverberating in my mind. Evelyn says, you were so good to them, Kurt. Yes, Julie. Thank you, Evelyn. I appreciate that. I tried. Yes, Julie, thanks for asking. Tomorrow I'm going to Purg. Wow, where the heck is that? You go to all these places I've never heard of. I love that about that, you, Evelyn. I mean, you don't just go see all the normal sites. You go to places, which are, I mean, wow. Francisco says, thank you for sharing thoughts. Oh, if that's directed at me, you're very welcome. Julie says, Kurt, I am just the opposite when I get the news of a friend has died. It is like someone is telling me it is hot outside. I just don't process it all for months. Well, I guess we do process it. People deal with death differently, huh? Tim says, even though I see age 60 as still being reasonably young, if I died, it's definitely an age turning point where I think more about your health, aging, and death. I wonder if being retired emphasizes this. I think it does, huh? I think it certainly does, especially because we spend to also our circle of people are different. I find myself suddenly in a circle of people who are, of which I am the junior member of the cohort, right? I mean, where most of the people that I spend a lot of my time with are in their 70s and 80s, and I'm young and I see myself like a freshman in high school, right? And it's a high school where the term lasts 20 years, right? Maybe to your 80s. And you get to see those who have gone before. Tim says, I don't think I would perhaps ponder about age and death so much if I was still working. Perhaps as I would have less time to think about these things. I wonder, for you and others, Tim, is it a burdensome thought? I mean, a lot of people tell me they don't want to think about death and aging, that it's a burden. To me, it's one of the most delicious thoughts, as dark as it might seem. I really love, love isn't too strong a word, pondering mortality and what the hell is going on, where I am, what this universe is all about, the consequence of death, the lack of consequence of death, the fact that in 2 or 3 generations there will be no one left to remember my name, just as just as I have no idea who my great grandfather was. Julie says, I really try to savor these good days, those good days strung together, because I know will have a string of irritation and grouchy days coming up. Wise perspective. But Robert, hi Robert. Robert says hi to absolutely everybody and chimes in that it's 20C, and as wonderful a thing that is that you do, Robert. It's a wonderful characteristic of yours to be so welcoming. 20C and humidity of 50%. Ooh, and air quality is 28, so a little better on the air quality today. Tim says hi to Robert. Evelyn says hi to Robert and wishes him a good day. Julie says, it's odd how we think everyone else is doing great when we were young and we were the only ones with burdens. But then when we are older, we know that everyone is carrying a heavy load. And isn't it also interesting, Julie, to look back like at our kids, and like my grown daughter, comes home to visit and she tells us about the trials and the trouble she's having. And I know it's vain for me to say, oh, I never do say this to her because I know it's useless to say things like, oh, these won't seem, I know they seem serious now, but one day they may seem less so, because they don't seem less so to her, right? They're very important to her. And it's almost like you have to grow out of it. You have to grow into a new life too before that weight seems less consequential. Robert says, hi, I am Evelyn. Thank you for asking. I woke up, therefore I feel qualified to feel blessed to be here. I hope you all feel the same. Spoken like a true retiree, Robert. Julie says, yep, Robert, totally agree. Neil says, it's Father's Day in New Zealand. I thought it was the same everywhere. Oh, okay. I don't know if it's Father's Day here. Usually my daughter sends me a message on Father's Day. And I think Father's Day came earlier in the year, around my birthday in May or something like that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Evelyn says, that's so true, Julie and Bob. I just finished reading the Odyssey. Did you? Purge is where St. Paul, Barnabas, and Mark traveled to. Me ruined in the book of Acts. Ooh, no kidding. Are you retracing the places of the Bible? That would be fun. I would love to do that. And congratulations on finishing the Odyssey. Are you going to read the Iliad as well? I really reading the Odyssey when I did it in my life was instrumental in my life in recognizing that there was great literature out there. I think it was probably well, besides Walden, which I felt more connected to because it was only a century or so removed. But when I read the Odyssey and I realized, geez, there's the classics out there. What am I doing watching? Doing watching a rerun of the Dukes of Hazzard when I could be reading something like the Odyssey or struggling to read the Odyssey, right? Tim says, I don't think about death so much, more about health as you're aging. Perhaps my health suddenly taking a nosedive. That plays on my mind more now than in my 60s. Never gave it a thought in my 50s. Mentioned in the books of Acts. I think I got what you meant there, Evelyn. Yeah, it came across in the context of your words, if not the words themselves. Dewey says, Father's Day in the U.S. is in June. I think, oh yeah, I knew it was sometime. My birthday is in May, so I knew it was sometime around my birthday. Well, thank you all for joining me today. It's always such a pleasure to have you all. I hope everybody has a good day, and that Tim, you have a nice sleep, and it's a good day tomorrow. Evelyn, continue with your ongoing adventures, tracing out such amazing places. Oh my gosh, it's amazing the things that you do. Julie as well. Let's enjoy the day. Robert, all the rest. I knew once I start naming names, I'm always going to be missing people. Neil, it's good to have you here as well. And let's see, there was another name there that I remember. Oh, first Hillary Brink. It's good to see you as well. Sorry if I missed anybody else. Be safe, but not too safe, everybody. Have a great day, and we have a big week, another week ahead of us, huh? Bye-bye.